Tales from the Arabian Nights. A story within a story within a story. Many years ago, in the ancient land of Arabia, there lived a mighty and rich sultan. He had a large army to command, a fleet of swift ships, and a fine stable of horses and camels. His every wish was a command, and the people feared him. Now it was the custom of the times for the wealthy men to have as many wives as they could afford. But this sultan did not follow this practice. Instead, he had his own cruel variation.
I have been married for only 3 weeks, and my bride already begins to prattle about her clothes, her jewels, and the inefficiency of the servants. Oh, I will have her hanged in the morning and be done with her.
Yes, the sultan had only one wife, at a time. As he tired of them, he had them hanged, and then he would marry another. Naturally, every girl dreaded the thought of marrying the sultan. That is, all except one. Her name was Scheherazade. She was the daughter of the vizier, a magician of the court. In her 19 summers, she had heard many stories from her clever father and his many wise friends. And what is most important, she remembered them and learned how to tell them. When her turn came to marry the sultan, who was attracted by her beauty and grace, Scheherazade remained calm and serene. As expected, the sultan soon found some fault with Scheherazade and ordered her execution. About 1 hour before the evil deed was to be done, Scheherazade, who had been combing her hair quite matter-of-factly, spoke to the sultan.
Oh, kind husband, before it is time to go, may I tell you one more story? You have always enjoyed my stories, and this might be a fitting farewell.
Oh, yes, that is true. I do like stories, and I never say no to a final request. Go ahead.
Thank you, gracious husband. There was once a wise king who ruled a city in Persia. Now, this king enjoyed jokes and games of all kinds. And at one time, he held a contest amongst his people to see if anybody could tell him of a story or event that he would consider truly impossible. Now, the king had seen many wonders of the world, and he believed that almost everything is possible. He set a prize of 1,000 gold coins to anyone who could make him say, "That is impossible." The day of the contest arrived, and the first man, a potter, spoke of seeing the moon fall into his garden last night.
Really? Was it full of cheese? Though your story is not very probable, there is a remote possibility that it might happen. You lose. Next.
The next contestant led a baby lamb to the throne and claimed that he came from a distant province where one of the king's wives lived, and that this lamb was the king's child.
You have seen this wife, so you must know that this is possible.
Now a youngish man presented himself before the king. He carried 2 large earthen jars and placed them at his feet. His name was Omar, and he lived by his wits.
Oh, king of this great city, you have ruled us well. You have followed the laws of our fathers.
That is possible.
In war, you were the greatest general that ever led this city.
True.
You not only fought with arms, but you once used all of your wealth to succeed in a campaign.
How true?
And when your wealth was gone, you borrowed money to save the city.
This is possible.
From my father, may he rest in peace, you borrowed 2 jars full of gold coins in excess of 20,000. And here are the very jars. And today is the date that you agreed to return the 20,000 to his son.
Now the king was at a difficult point. He could easily say that it was possible for the moon to fall or for his child to be a lamb. But if he said that it was possible that he borrowed the money, he would owe Omar 20,000 gold coins. If he said it was impossible, Omar would win the 1,000 coin prize. The king thought for a moment, and then he spoke.
Quiet. Quiet. Omar, you are a clever one. But I am a ruler who enjoys a joke, and I can suffer to be a loser. Therefore, I am going to save 19,000 gold coins. As my reply to your story is, that is impossible.
Another time, the same wise king with a sense of humor was quite concerned about the government of his city. He wanted to find out if the common citizens had any complaints about his rule. These people might not speak their minds directly to the ruler, so the king decided to disguise himself and go among the people as a common citizen. He took with him one of his trusted servants, and they both wore the clothing of Egyptian traders. They left the palace and went to the marketplace, and heard nothing but praise for the king.
Fruit! Figs and dates! Figs and dates! We have the greatest king in all of Persia!
Oh, Persia! Oh, why, you can include India and all of Arabia!
The king was quite pleased, and he and his companion continued on their walk. They came to a fountain where a merchant of the city was drinking a cup of water.
Greetings, merchant. We are two traders from the land of Egypt, and we've heard much good about this city. Is it true that your king is one of the wisest and kindest of rulers, and his officials are fair in their dealings with the people?
Welcome, travelers. Have a cup of water. It is quite true that our king is honest and fair, and his appointed officials are competent. That is, all except one, Ali, the tax collector. If I were the king, I would have him beaten and driven out of the city tied to a donkey.
But what has this Ali done that you are so angry with him?
I will tell you the reason, but later. Now is the time for dinner, and you two travelers should come to my house and dine with me. I would consider it an honor.
Sir, we gladly accept your invitation.
The king and his servant followed the merchant to his home, where a fine table was set with the freshest fruits and vegetables and a delicious rack of lamb. The only other occupant of the house was the merchant's mother. She made sure that the wine glasses were kept full of the finest honey wine. The meal was eaten in virtual silence. The king was determined to find out why Abdullah, that was the merchant's name, should invite two total strangers to his home. But he held his question until the end of the meal.
This is indeed a gracious meal, and we thank you, Abdullah, for inviting us. But may I be so bold as to inquire why you would invite two strangers to your home for a sumptuous meal? And you have never explained your anger at Ali, the tax collector.
I will answer both questions at the same time. There is a reason why I dislike Ali and invite strangers to my home to dine. The reason starts with a tale. The other day, a friend of mine was in the outskirts of this city, and he stopped at an inn for dinner. He had never been there before, but he was hungry, and he ordered the lamb stew. The stew was brought to the table, but what a stew! It smelled, and it looked terrible. He pushed the plate away and started to leave when the restaurant owner rushed in.
Where are you going? You haven't paid for your stew.
I ordered lamb stew, not this swill that you served. The restaurant owner ran out to call for a policeman.
Police! Police!
While he was gone, my friend took his plate of stew to the garbage pail in the kitchen. When he removed the lid, he was astonished to find a cat's tail and the balance of the cat that did not go into his stew. Soon, the owner came back with a policeman who seized my friend.
This man says that you ordered lamb stew and did not pay for it. Is this true?
I ordered lamb stew, but there is a reason that I didn't pay for it, and the reason begins with a tail. As soon as the restaurant owner heard the man say tail, he knew that he was in great danger. If the policeman found out that he served cat's meat, he would have to go to jail.
Now I remember. This gentleman did pay me, but I was so busy in the kitchen that I forgot. I also have to give him change, as he gave me a brand new silver coin.
The owner opened his purse and took out a dozen copper coins and gave it to my friend, who left the inn still hungry, but with a full pocket. And so ends my tale of a tale.
That is a very good story, Abdullah. But we still do not know why you invited us to your house, or why you do not like the tax collector Ali.
Well, that story begins with a tale, too.
A number of years before, Abdullah's father had died and had left him enough money to last him the rest of his life. However, Abdullah fell in with a friend named Ali, who borrowed and borrowed money from him until all of it was gone. Abdullah was reduced to selling all of the furnishings of his house to keep from starving. Finally, there was nothing left to sell. At this time, Ali, his friend, had become the tax collector of the city, and Abdullah went to ask him for the return of his money. Ali not only refused to return the money he had borrowed, but he had Abdullah beaten and thrown into a ditch. Now, when all seemed lost, Abdullah received good news. His father had known that Abdullah knew little about the caring for money, so he had divided the money in half. The first half was given when he had died, and the second half had been kept in secret for 2 years. Now the 2 years had passed, and Abdullah received a second fortune, and he had learned a lesson.
Yes, my father was very wise. Now I know what to do with my money. From that day to this, I have no real friends. Every day I invite total strangers to eat in my house, but I do not befriend them. You, gentlemen of Egypt, when you leave this house, I will no longer recognize you.
You are a very bitter man, and I wish I could change your mind. Is there no one in the city who can make you a friend?
Friend? Pah! I only wish I could be the king for 1 day, and then I would teach Ali, the tax collector, a lesson he would never forget.
At this remark, the king smiled, and a plan came to him, which would be both fun and might teach Abdullah a lesson. When Abdullah was not looking, the king dropped a sleeping potion in his wine glass. In an instant, Abdullah was asleep. The king and his servant quickly rolled him up in a rug and carried him off to the palace. No one stopped them in the streets, so they looked like traders carrying their wares. They entered the palace and placed Abdullah in a royal bedroom for the night. The next morning, when Abdullah the merchant awoke...
Where am I? Whose bed am I in? Oh, what a color for a bed. Yellow. Yellow wood? Wait, it's not wood. It's gold. And that chandelier. It must be of pure silver. The curtains and the furniture are the richest that I've ever seen. Enter! Enter, whoever you may be.
Your Highness, your royal bath is ready. May I help you with your robe and slippers?
My royal bath, did you say?
Yes, your Royal Highness.
This man believes me to be the king. I must be dreaming. Let me give myself a good pinch to wake myself. Ow! Ouch!
Is anything wrong, your Royal Majesty?
No, nothing. I am not asleep. I am not asleep. Where am I, and why do you call me Your Majesty?
In your royal bedchamber, and you are the king.
The king? Oh, that cannot be. Yesterday I was the unhappy Abdullah the merchant. But if I am the king, I can give orders and they will be obeyed. Servant, I want 12 soldiers to go to the home of Ali, the tax collector. He is to be removed from his office and ridden out of the city tied to the smallest donkey available and forbidden to return, ever. Go and report to me when this deed is done.
Abdullah paced the bedroom for 1 hour, anxiously awaiting the result of his command. Then the servant returned and reported that Ali the tax collector had been removed as ordered. Abdullah the merchant was overjoyed.
I am the king! I am the king! This is the happiest day of my life. Now I am ready for my royal bath. Where are my attendants?
At this point, Scheherazade stopped her storytelling. The Sultan had become very sleepy, and he had almost dozed off. But when Scheherazade stopped talking, he jumped up.
Well, this can't be the end of the story.
No, you are quite right, it isn't. But the time has come for my execution, and I'm afraid it has to be the end, unless I could possibly go on with my story tomorrow at the same time.
I've never done anything like this before, but I must hear the rest of your story. I will postpone your execution for 24 hours. I suppose I am the most generous sultan that ever lived.
And so Scheherazade's life had been spared for the night. She was now very confident that she could continue to weave the tales that so entranced the Sultan. After all, she had learned them from her father. And no girl can go wrong when she listens to her father.